Hello to everyone from Team AM. Today we are going to be in conversation with Neil De Silva, our author of the month for the month of May. Now, before we begin this entire conversation with him, there's an important announcement that needs to be made. As a part of our efforts to raise mental health awareness through the arts, we are going to start our own monthly magazine. And it's for this reason that we are announcing our first of what is going to be a monthly writing contest. Yes, folks, monthly writing contest wherein 10 of you will get the chance to have your articles featured in our magazine. So, Vikrant, would you like to explain the rules of this contest?
Yes. So the rules of the contest are very, very simple. Rule number one, you have to your article has to be written around the theme of the month. The theme of this month is Tales from Mumbai. So whatever articles you're writing have to be revolving around Mumbai. Second, there's a word limit to this because you cannot just write willy-nilly however much you want. So the word limit is 500 words or less. Third is that the submissions have to be sent mailed to us on our email ID, which is the link to which is given below in the description. And fourth, and the final is the final date of submission is 20th of May. If you send it on the 21st, you will be disqualified. So back to Sushreeta, and she will tell us what prizes are in store for people who win.
All right, Vikrant. So, the 10 articles that will be chosen are going to be chosen by three judges. Yes, three judges. Two of them are like me and Vikrant, but the third judge, the most important person here, is going to be Neil himself, who is going to go through all of your articles and help us choose those 10 winners. And the thing that these 10 winners get is an opportunity to interact, engage, and learn in a workshop with Neil himself. Isn't that awesome? I mean, for budding authors, budding writers to learn something about writing from the experts themselves. So, isn't that cool to have Neil on board doing this excellent workshop for our winners for the upcoming month? Over to you, Vikrant. Let's begin this.
So let's start with the main event of the day. Neil De Silva, the man over here, is he's basically redefined horror in India. Before Neil, I think horror India was when we thought about horror India, it was more like Ramsey Brothers and Ghost in a Haveli kind of idea. Neil is an expert in writing psychological horror thrillers, which is fascinating according to me. Which is why three of his books have been picked up for on-screen adaptations. And before we start this whole shindig, let me just congratulate Neil. His book Ringa Ringa Roses has just been named one of the top three bestsellers in horror on Amazon. And you are trailing the man himself, Mr. Stephen King. So how does it feel to be mentioned in the same breath as the big kahuna of horror?
I'm very thankful to my readers. And of course, thank you, Team AMP, for having me here as your first author of the month. And yes, the readers have been very generous to me right from 2015 when I started writing. My first book itself, Maya's New Husband, had hit number one on Amazon and stayed there for 18 months on and off. So that
Whoa.
was a long period of time. And then I got a reader base and they have been following my work. I get all these comments every day, and it's not about just the stories, but also about how the stories made them feel, which is also making me a better writer because each and every comment matters to us. And it's a great feeling to be with Dean Koontz and Stephen King. And but that is, I have
Yeah,
still to reach that level.
like when you started, when Maya's New Husband came out, did you ever imagine you would be like spoken to in the same breath as Stephen King? Because there's a lot of similarities between you two. But if you think about it, because you start a book, both of you start a book like before breakfast and have a finished manuscript by dinner time. It seems.
No, no, no. I'm nowhere near Stephen King. He is a genius. I mean, he is our guru. He teaches all of us. It is just a fortunate thing that I am on the same list as him, but that is Amazon's algorithms that bring us there. So it is not that I am there. He's been at it for so many years. He's a legend. He's a living legend, and but it feels good, to be at least on the same line somewhere on the internet as he is. So obviously that is an exhilarating feeling.
So, given that now you are one of the, let's say, you are one of the godfathers of Indian horror, so to say,
Yep.
what is your
He's very
philosophy?
old.
What is the philosophy to writing? By the way, what do you have to have in mind when you're writing? What goes on
So
through your brain?
okay, so whatever I will speak today will be culled from all the comments that I'm getting from readers, because I do not see myself in the third person. My readers, when their comments come in, then I know what my reading, what my stories are, and how they are impacting my audience. So one of the things I feel that has come out strongly in all my books, and which we could underline as probably the philosophy of my books, is that I always tackle horror with a social issue. I always make that blend. So that is something that makes my horror maybe more palatable to an audience who would otherwise not read horror. I mean, just pure ghost story, they might not read, but they still pick up my books because I have some social issues that I address, and these social issues are always they have to do with something about the psychology of the main characters, how they are connected. Because horror is all about the mind, isn't it? It's all about what you think, the way you react, and that is how it works. So when my first book hit the stands, Maya's New Husband, the core concept of that book, the one line idea that was in my mind was about marriages and how they work in India. Like the thing is, marriage is about two people. They get together. Now, whether it's an arranged marriage or a love marriage, which has come out of many years of wooing and romance, how much do you exactly know your partner? How much do you know about him or her? You cannot say, because it is always the thing that the person talks to you about, that is what will be your knowledge, or what others tell him about your partner. They tell you about your partner, I'm sorry. So the thing is, that was my core concept, that what let us demystify marriage. What if the one of the partners has a very terrible secret, then how would it impact the other partner? So that is where Maya's New Husband took from. That was the social angle, and then the philosophy worked, and the book did well. One of my other books, Yakshini, which is a recent October 2018 release, 19 release. So in that book, the concept was about a girl in a Maharashtrian rural village who is growing up in this male-oriented, male-dominated society. So she is 15 when the story begins. But there is this growth spurt, and she starts looking like an adult already. She is a woman even at that age. And now the male gaze cannot get off her. That is the way the society is. But when the men start taking advantage of her, which inevitably happens, I suppose, in our society that we have, it is at that time that this woman realizes that there is somebody inside me. I'm not alone. And that thing that is inside her is a Yakshini, a demigoddess, a spiritual entity. And this Yakshini is her second avatar. And that comes out whenever a man tries to take advantage of her and seeks revenge. So that is the philosophy. This had come to me, this idea had come to me from the various rape cases that were happening in India. Like since when the Nirbhaya rape case first came out, and then we had all
Correct.
these series of incidents, episodes. We all remember seeing them in the papers and getting shaken by it, and the utter feeling of helplessness and despair and horror, because I think that is the real horror, right? So that was what stayed on in my mind, and I felt that what if that woman who is going through such a thing, what if she has a protection within herself to fight back, and if she does fight back, then how will society look at her after that? So see, this is the way my stories are. They are not just about booth and chudel and wo safed sari mein aurat. Okay, it's not that. It's not the Haveli. So my horror is very much grounded in today's world, in reality, and those are the stories that I enjoy writing. Maybe somewhere it stirs some souls, and something comes out of it. That's my philosophy.
Wow. Thank you so much, Neil, for that really in-depth understanding of what is your philosophy to writing. Now, since I'm a mental health professional, of course, my question to you is, what is mental health according to you?
I would say, see, this is a very difficult, how would you put that in one line? But I would think, see, from my perspective, mental health, mental wellness is when I am completely free of mind to do whatever I want. I do not have these kinds of, restrictive boundaries on my mind that, okay, I'm not able to do it for some reason or something. I'm in a happy frame of mind. When are you happy? Let us define happiness. When are you happy? You are happy when you are content, when you have everything you want, when you're able to do the things that you want. And when that is the thing, I mean, that is happening, that is going on, that time you describe probably as you are in a good state of mind. We actually use that term. I'm in a happy state of mind. So I think happiness comes from freedom. And when you are not able to do the things that you want to do, that is the time when your mental health starts to waver. Now, we are not talking about what you want to do. That is an object. Let us not talk about that because a person might have in his mind to do something that is not acceptable to society. But in that case, he is again mentally ill. That person is mentally ill. If he is wanting to have this propensity to do something that society does not accept, then he's mentally ill anyway. I'm talking about people like you and me, the people who are, free to do what they want. An example from my own life. When I started writing, this was 2014. In 2014, I had started an institute long ago. This was, I think, in 1998. I had started an institute. It was a coaching class, and
Okay.
this coaching class I ran on for all these years till 2016. I ran on till, in fact, for 18 years, and I was doing very well. We had 500 students per year. It was a super hit class, and we were monetarily stable. Everything was fine. But then, as the years passed, as 2014 approached, I started feeling like, am I going to do this my entire life? Is this what my life is? And that was a feeling that shook me. Like, I did not want to, really continue with that. My students were growing older. They had gone all over the world. They were in different professions, and I was there in that same dingy classroom. So, I did that. Now that feeling where it's a coaching class, right? So from morning to night you are there. You don't have vacations.
Right.
So that was a that created a kind of sense, dissatisfaction in me that I'm capable of so much more and I want to do this. And I felt bound. Now that was one time when I came very close to what it's a stronger term, but I came very close to a depression. I felt
Oh, okay.
so there were these days when I would be very sullen and I would not talk to anybody, and I would just ruminate things in my mind like how can we go ahead and what can be done. So that was one phase of my life, and then I decided that I will take up writing. It was a bold decision, but my wife supported me, and we worked out all the monetary things and all. However it will happen, it happens. You just take the plunge. I took the plunge, and then the books happened. So that phase I have come very close to a breakdown. So
Oh,
I was very, very close to that. So that happened. Then again, what happened is we took time to, build up monetarily, because when you're leaving a class that is functioning so well and you're suddenly coming to something as nebulous as writing is, then, there's always this phase that you don't know where the money will come from. So
right, right.
we went through that for 3 years, 4 years. I would not say that even now we are on par with what we were before 2004. But I am very, very happy. I am absolutely satisfied that the way my career is shaping up and where I'm going. I'm getting all these deals and I'm getting script writing projects. So that switch I made at 39. I was 39 years old at that time. So it's something like a
Oh, okay.
midlife crisis probably, which goes on, which is so much talked about. So that was one phase I came very close to, but I had support from my family, and then things worked out.
Wow, that is
To
brilliant.
just encapsulate your question, so because I was able to do the thing that I wanted to do, I came back to my mental health, my mental wellness. So I totally believe that it is freedom of doing what you want.
Thank you so much, Neela. It's more often than not, when I ask this question to a lot of people just fixate on the illness paradigm. But it was really nice of you to take us through the entire illness to wellness paradigm, giving a relatively holistic understanding of what mental health from both paradigms looks like. So my next question to you is, what metaphor would you use to describe mental health or state of the mind?
So let us go by what I just said in my previous question. Freedom.
Mm-hmm.
So the metaphor that
Mm-hmm.
would work for me would be definitely if you are not well in your mind,
Mm-hmm.
then for me the metaphor I see mental unhealthiness as being like a caged bird, a bird in a cage, beautiful bird, or physically able to do whatever, seeing the sky all around, and the bird gets a lot of love, gets a lot of attention. But is the bird able to do what it wants? Now imagine in place of that bird if we were, how would we feel?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, we are the cynosure of attention. Everybody is looking at us. But are we
Right.
able to, fructify our vision? Are we able to do what we want? When that does not happen, you feel these bondages. Because I remember going through that situation. It was like, okay, I have
Mm-hmm.
to do this now, then this now, then this now, then this now. And it was like, just you, that sequence. And you are like on a conveyor belt, just moving along with the tide. There is nothing else. So this is the feeling that I got. I am not able to come out and do what I want. Then I
Mm-hmm.
feel wellness. So when that happened, it was like I had shattered that cage. It was like I was
Oh,
flying in the sky.
wow.
I was free. I was able to do whatever I want. I could perch wherever I want, and So I think that analogy works. I don't know. It's very poetic what I said, but that is the way it was for me.
No, it's
Awesome.
actually it resonates. I remember when we met, you and me met for the first time, Neil. I
Mm.
was going through some genuine issues in my life. I don't know
Okay.
if you remember. We talked about it at
Yeah.
great depth at that time.
Yeah.
And when I look at it, I feel like the mind is like the reservoir of a dam,
Mm.
and it slowly gets filled, not just with the good things but the bad things itself as well. And in order to maintain your mental health, sometimes you just have to let the floodgates open and let
Yeah.
it all out. You just need to talk about it. For me, mental wellness is something as simple as the answer to the question, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Our instinctual reply to that question is fine, whether we are actually feeling fine or not, because that is what people are supposed to tell.
That is a question
Gods are
to which
our
we
greatest.
always answer with a lie. We always
Yeah,
answer that question with a lie.
no, but the thing is, uh, the ability to feel is God's greatest gift to us, and yet we somehow feel the need to, push it down our feelings
Yes.
and just press
That.
it underneath everything, and
And
that is not
also
healthy.
because, yeah, and also because we do this suppressing and pressing it in, I think arts are like the most beautiful way of actually letting all that's bottled up. Sometimes you just can't use your words. Sometimes you are much more comfortable writing down all of this emotion, all of this pent up stuff that's in your mind. So
Oh,
I think it was a
art is
very wise decision on our front to pick literature as our first mode of
Very
art.
nice. Because I
art
fully
is my major floodgate. Art is my floodgate
agree.
to
So that
everything. Writing is my floodgate.
when I'm absolutely pissed off at something, the thing that I will do is I'll shut myself in my room and write my stories. So
Wow.
whatever I write, at that time, I'm sure the best writing comes out when I'm angry, because that is the time when I'm actually rolling my emotions on paper, and it really resonates. I've seen that happen a lot. Yeah, yeah.
I
Wow.
thrive in my darkness.
We all
Right,
do.
for writing.
Writers of dark fiction mostly, because I will definitely kill somebody at that point in my books.
Yeah, it's a very interesting job. We get paid to kill people in our books.
Yeah. So that's art therapy.
Yes. So, like we talked about you being India's biggest horror thriller writer currently, but
I
your
don't
brand of
I
horror.
Somebody will pick up an objection with that. Okay, anyway.
We don't care. So, but your brand of horror is different, as we already discussed.
Yeah.
But it requires a great deal of world building exercise on your part.
Yes.
So, how immersive do you tend to get when you are like starting a new project?
Oh, totally, totally. Means I go stark raving mad when I'm writing in the middle of a project. When I am, uh, writers are very difficult people to live with. I'm sure everybody agrees with that. So, but when
I
I'm in
don't know.
the,
I live with myself pretty easily.
I know because maybe I don't know how it is, but I have
I
a
have
wife.
interacted enough with Vikrant to know that.
No, no, no. I am totally on that with that. That writing is a very difficult job. It's almost like you are doing a lot of kasrat, but nobody is seeing
Yeah.
that work. Because the whatever squats, push-ups, and whatever you're doing is in your mind. So people are not able to see the kind of rigor that you are putting your mind through, and people do not
Absolutely.
understand what actually writing is. But in my mind, I am building a world. I'm seeing my characters. I'm
Right.
seeing scenes. I'm finding the right words to say that thing, because that is also an important thing. Words do come naturally to me because I have been writing since the time I was 12 years old. So
Oh,
language and expression is very easy for me. But the thing is, to build the scene, to visualize the scene, it requires a lot of dedication. And then I'm writing horror. Now, what I write is horror is a fantasy, right? It's a dark fantasy. So horror is not something that we will probably truly experience. So a kind of scene that if I write, like for example, the scene of the Yakshini coming out of Meenakshi, or in Ringa Ringa Roses, the book that we spoke about, there are scenes in.
mm-hmm.
There are three stories of children who are in various horror situations and how they fight it, how they overcome it. Because I don't want to portray children as victims, so I have portrayed
Right.
them as heroes in my books. So they are victims of their own horrors, but they overcome it. But one of the stories there is of this person in the night. She's a child, she's lonely, she's depressed, and she sees that there's another child in the room who comes at nights and he draws things on the wall. And when he draws those things, those things come true the next day in a very, very gruesome manner. So this is the kind
Okay.
of thing that required imagination, because I had to think about how this child would be, the two children, the characters, plus there's a demon living in the walls. So that demon, to portray a demon coming out from the walls on a child. See, this is all phobia. We all have got
Right. Right.
that. Very sure.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
was a scary person. I would always think about monsters coming out from the ceiling and from
Lil, how often on a daily basis do you scare yourself?
a lot, because I am so involved. So when I was writing these paranormal stories with Sarbajit, which two books are coming out now, one with
Yeah.
Rupa and one with Hashit, and there is also that paranormal book that I've written with Jay Alani, which has come out with.
Yeah, he's an interesting character himself.
Yeah. So when we write all these paranormal investigation stories, or the way that it works is I'm co-writing it with them. So they send me these narrations, audio narrations. So when the narrations come, now I have not been to those places which they are talking about, because it is their life's journey, correct? So what I do is I shut the windows, I put off the lights, I put the headphones, and I just listen to their stories. I take
Oh.
it, and they're pure stark horror, because those people have gone to those haunted places and all. So
I
that
think has Jay talked to you about his experience with Lorraine Warren?
yeah, I briefly, of course, I wrote his book, so definitely we had all that talk. So when
By the way, yeah. So for Sushreeta, Jay is a student of Lorraine Warren from the Conjuring fame.
Okay. Okay.
So
yeah,
he spent
Okay.
time with her.
yes. So
Oh.
anyway, now when the stories come, so that is the way I do it. I completely immerse myself, and I have heard this from Sarbajit that when I write the stories after such immersivity, I write it. Then I am writing details which he had not mentioned in the narration, but they are coming in my in the stories. Like I could see the color of the exact color of the car. He had not even mentioned that there was a vehicle at a particular point. So they had gone from place A to place B. They had just mentioned that, and I could actually describe the journey, like how many people were in the car and what was the color of the car, what was the make of the car. So such things, they just come to me. I don't know. It is probably a psychic connection. Once you are so well attuned, then somehow the universe starts telling you things. So that is
Are
what
we
happens.
talking about the Bhangad story? Yes, Bhangad
No,
story.
this is Sarbajit's story. So Jai's
Acha.
story. Jai was a very detailed narrator, so most of the things were already there in his narration.
Yeah.
But Sarbajit's stories are more complex. The books are still to come out, so I'm sure you'll be
Yeah.
a bigger fan of Sarbajit when the time comes. So the stories are very layered, very complex. Lots of things happening in there, and
Yeah, I'm more obsessed with Jay because I've heard those stories from the horse's mouth himself. So
yeah.
that's why maybe I'm
So
biased.
yes. So, but they are two very different paranormal investigators. I mean, they have completely different modus operandi. Though their theory is the same, their motive is the same to find out the reality of ghosts and spirits. That is the same, but the paths that both of them have chosen are very different. So you'll find out when the books come out. So right now it is like the books are still in the making, so it's difficult to explain. So, but that is it. And then I start getting nightmares. So that happens because I'm so immersed. So when I'm in the very middle of a story, in the thick of a story, that night I will invariably see the story play out in my dreams. And I would see the ghost, I'll see something, I'll get the sense that something is there behind me. I have had sleep paralysis strokes twice
Oh
or
my
thrice.
goodness.
I've experienced those. Those are not
Those are
great.
very, very, very
Those are very scary.
extremely scary. I mean, you feel
I
that
have had patients come in with complaints of sleep paralysis. I know it's very scary. I've researched
it's
it
a
a
very
bit and
common
it's very
phenomenon.
scary.
Yeah, we think that sleep paralysis may be something that does not happen so much, but it does. There are a lot of people who go through this, and sleep paralysis is just a manifestation of how crazy our schedule is, our day life is, because that plays out then in the night. So that is what it happens. So sleep paralysis is basically it's your body not able to respond, but your mind being more active than your body. That is why
Yeah.
your mind is awake, but your body is not. So you are seeing
Mm.
things, you are sensing things, but you are not able to move. So that kind of
Ah.
chapter that has happened to me a lot of times, and it usually happens to me when I'm writing these ghost stories. So that is a level of immersivity that we have in the stories, and without that, I
You
don't think the stories can have
you've
that feel.
definitely you've definitely given me a good research topic now.
Yeah, in fact, this is one of my topics in the coming books. So, in my
Oh,
post,
okay.
there is an entire chapter on sleep paralysis where I've described my
Ooh.
experience plus, some others that I spoke to. I spoke to about 7, 8 people, and the
Wow.
others plus
We
the.
should talk about it. I have some interesting stories to tell you about sleep paralysis
Oh, sure,
from my end.
sure, sure.
So apart from being just a writer, you write also screenplays. Correct me if I'm wrong, as well as you edit books.
I do.
So along with those things, like they come, many mental rigors such as deadlines, writer's
Yeah.
block. So how do you deal with those?
So screenplays, yes, I have also written scripts before. Like I used to write for a channel which was catering to kids, children's content. That was not
Okay.
horror. That was
Mhm.
moral stories, comedy, and all. So I wrote about 300 episodes for it, and this channel now has like 6 million subscribers. The channel is Cuckoo
Wow.
TV. It's on YouTube. Yeah, a very popular channel. So that was my script writing experience. Now, recently, I have just before the lockdown, I had it.
Mhm.
I signed a deal with a major producer on a major OTT for a 5 episode anthology horror show. So this
Oh.
details cannot be revealed yet, but the stories are about local legends, like
Ooh.
legends from our different states, like
Okay.
Kashmir, Rajasthan, and all. They all have their own ghost stories, right? So
Mm,
I
yeah.
so my concept there was to have our modern day setup, but the urban legends and how they play in our world. So this
Wow.
is picked up by a major OTT, and I think after the lockdown, when things start again, the announcements and all will be made. So there, I
Brilliant.
written the screenplay. I have not gone for dialogues and all because writing a script is a very, very difficult job. I feel it takes a lot of commitment, dedication to it, and I believe my forte is original stories. So
It's
what
a
I
it's a very different skill set that you require to write a script rather than.
the thing is, what happens? I like to give original stories, and I am bombarded with so many stories in my even a regular day that I just believe that I should keep on giving these original stories to people, and people who can write scripts and dialogues, they should do that. They are better at that. I will keep on giving original stories. So yes, so writing a screenplay for me is, you have to approach the story from the way a viewer will approach it. So I do that. I tend to see it like how I would like to see it playing out on screen. If I have to adapt a story from Edgar Allan Poe or anybody, for example, an existing story, and if I have to write the screenplay for it, then first and foremost, I have to understand the soul of the story. Because the story, as it is described in text, in prose, in that scene by scene format, won't work for the visual medium. For the visual medium, you will have to take that one thing, which is the main element, and play with it. So there were a lot of changes. Of course, we cannot go in detail on that in this discussion. But when you write a screenplay, I enjoy writing screenplays because screenplays are very challenging and screenplays are very creative because you are taking something which is written as a different story and you are adapting in a format for a different audience for a different medium. So yes, I do that, but I don't take a lot of screenplay work because the reason for that is, as I told you, I want to give original stories. So I want to focus on giving original stories, whereas people who can do the screenplay and all, I always, it's always good to team up with somebody in those departments. Yeah.
All right, great. That was a lot about the kind of work that you're doing, and wow, it's just totally amazing. And yeah, you did frighten me a little over there. But anyway, moving on forward and coming back a little to mental health. So, I, as a mental health professional, have seen that a lot of people have some sort of stigma towards visiting a mental health professional. I have heard things like कोई पागल ही किसी साइकोलॉजिस्ट या साइकाइट्रिस्ट के पास जाता होगा. अरे तू पागल है क्या, तेरे को कुछ नहीं हुआ, तू फर्स्ट क्लास है, तेरे को क्यों खाली फुकट इतने पैसे किसी को देने हैं जस्ट बात करने के लिए एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट. So it's like there is a battle ensuing between the general public and mental health professionals, wherein we as mental health professionals are literally fighting every single day to raise awareness and to explain what mental health is all about, what is mental wellness, what is mental illness. And still, yeah, we do get disappointed at times, but we continue to stay forward on our course. But I would like to ask you this. What do you think you could do, or how could you help battle the stigma against mental health, illness, or wellness?
See, the first thing that we need in case of any kind of health issue is
Mhm.
awareness. If people know about it, then people will take proactive steps. So at this
Mhm.
point of time, what has happened is people still, despite so many years passing after we recognized mental health, I'm talking worldwide as an issue.
Right,
We
right,
have
right,
still
right.
not come to terms with it. We have still not come to terms with it. We cannot understand things like simple depression at home. We cannot.
Mhm.
If somebody gets a low result, we always hear of these SSC kids and ICSE kids committing suicide after the board exams. So that is
Mhm.
so it cannot be condoned, that kind of thing, because if those
Right.
children had an outlet to talk to somebody, even within the family, those mishaps could have been completely avoided. But see,
Right.
even at that communication level, we are lacking so bad. So the
Mm.
most important thing I believe is, to just talk about it a lot, talk about it a
Mhm.
very lot. So I'm very happy what you guys are doing with Team AMP because that is a step in this positive direction. You have to take this step. Art, I believe, art has this capacity to start discussions, to start debates, and people can keep talking because we have to always have something which creates a relatable analogy in the person's mind. So
Absolutely.
that is what should happen. It should come in the schools. We should talk in the schools. Now schools already have mental counselors, mental
Yes, yes.
counselors. We already have that. So that is a very positive step. And now the urban people right now, they are okay to go to even marriage counselors and stuff like that. It's happening. I mean, even few
Mm-hmm.
helplines we have. So we have come far. But still,
Mm-hmm.
India being such a big country and such a lot of different population that we have, to spread the word
Mm-hmm.
out right to the grassroots is a challenge. And let us tap all avenues to do that. That's what I say.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you so much for your suggestions, Neil. Considering that you are this exhilaratingly creative individual, I would like to ask you this question. What is the most fascinating thing that you find to be about your mind?
My mind. I
Yes.
I think see, I was always academically brilliant. So I
Mm-hmm.
always scored the top marks and always a first ranker, that kind of thing. And of course, because of that, all the bullying that came was also there, but let us not talk about that. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, like that, I was supposed to be, one of those intelligent kids, those bright kids, what they used to call that in those days as scholar hai ye to, like that kind of thing. So that was
Yeah.
always there, and that continued even with my post graduation. And also I was, because without that I could not have had a coaching class, right? Because you have to teach that. So that is there. But more than that, I find that I have a kind of I have been blessed with the capacity to observe and absorb. So when I am just looking at something, I'm just walking on the streets, not now. Now there's nothing. So when I'm just doing, or maybe now also, I don't know. I will observe something and something will strike me out of that. So it's like I see inanimate objects also as animate. Like they also talk to me or something like that. It looks like I'm a,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So this has happened to me a couple of times. I can. Uh,
Neil, Sushreeta is psychoanalyzing you, please. What you're saying?
I'm so not doing that, Vikrant. Let Neil speak.
you know you can, you have this kind of uncanny sense which you cannot explain to people who do not have it. You cannot. So it is not like they are actually having a mouth and suddenly growing ears and all and starting to talk. It's
Right.
not like that. So but you just feel that okay, there's a story about this place. I'll see a park bench, and it just, my mind will go on like, okay, so there was a story on this bench that happened. So it is like that. So then you feel like, okay, who will be the character sitting? So that kind of thing. I don't do that kind of. Uh, Physically you will not see any change in me, but this is happening to me when I go,
Right.
especially when I go to a new place. So I have a very strong sense with deja vu. So that,
Oh, okay.
so I usually get that feeling like, okay, something has happened before. So this kind of thing I find very fascinating about my mind, because it actually aids me in creating these stories. Did I tell or not? I forgot. But the thing is that I believe that the universe gives me the stories that I write.
Oh,
I do
okay.
not. I do not actually, like usually what the notion is about authors, that they sit and outline and plot and all that. I don't do that. So I just, like just meditatively, I walk around the room or something like that for a while, and I get what story I'm going to write. Like right now, I'm at the very climax of one of my books. So I've been writing since 4 a.m. in the morning. So excuse my appearance and all. So the thing is, I write a scene and then I don't know what will happen in the next scene. Of course, I know how the novel is going to end. I know that. But I don't know what will be
Okay.
the next scene, what will be the next scene. So what I do is I just walk around. I just see outside. If I could go outside, I would have gone. So I just do that, and automatically that next scene comes to me. Like, this is what.
Okay.
So that kind of creativity, I think, is something that I've been blessed with. Very thankful
Wow.
also.
Now
Wow.
that we know that Neil De Silva's mind works faster than Chacha Chaudhary, uh,
Know about that.
I would officially like to apply for the job of Sabu. I am willing to shave my head.
Yes, of course. I'll need a muscle man. Thank you.
As we announced at the beginning of this interview, that you are one of the three judges of this writing contest that's going to happen for the magazine. So
Hmm.
what would you like to tell our participants? Like, what is the one thing that you will stand out, make someone stand out in comparison to the rest in the eyes of Neil De Silva?
I will talk about me personally, like what I'm looking for. And I would love to see stories that the kind of stories that create, they spark a discussion, something that is thought provoking. I do not like stories that are superficial and written just for the sake of entertainment. So you would have guessed it that I'm not a big fan of Rohit Shetty movies. So, that kind of stories don't do much for me. I want something that will make me analyze, that will benefit our society in some way or the other. So I think that stories should not be, I mean, entertainment is a very important part of it, and my stories also have that entertainment. But just writing a story for just writing sake and just for entertainment sake, I think we are wasting an opportunity. So if you are submitting a story to a platform, why not make use of it and say something that will actually benefit the people, the readers, in some way or the other. So something that tugs at my heartstrings, something that makes me think, something that speaks of a important issue maybe, and something that I will also remember after 4 days. So no, it should not be like I just read it and gone with the wind, I scored it and finished. It should not be like
So
that.
to to summarize, no Ghost in Havelis.
Havelis are fine, but then what are you talking about? The ghost in Haveli is important because see, Vikrant, the haunting of Hill House is all about a haunting story, right? It's a story of a
Yeah,
haunting uh, at Hill
but
House.
it's more
But
than a Ghost in Haveli story,
it
right?
is so much psychological. There were so many layers of what is happening there. So give me something like that. Give me something like that which I'll not forget.
Have
So
you seen this movie called The Others,
yeah,
starring Nicole Kidman? That's
yes,
an interesting take on the whole Ghost in Haveli
it's a
thing.
complete volte-face. You
Ah,
what you think is completely flipped over. So give something like that. We'll absolutely look forward to it.
that would be fun to read.
Yes, yes. It should be
Something
a
like that.
statement. Uh, कुछ मजा आ जाए, something like that. It's a very cliche term, मजा आ जाए, but that is always what people are looking for, right? When they're judging something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh my God, wow. So this was a lot of information to take in. This was a lot of information to absorb. I'm sure whoever will be viewing or is viewing this video will definitely have a lot to take away, will have a lot to gather. And considering that the amalgamation of authors and a mental health professional can bring out such a unique sort of platform and discussion, and the kind of conversations that we've been having so far, they've just been that's the best way I can summarize what I am feeling right now. So we are finally going to conclude this interview. Thank you so much, Neil, for consenting to be the author of the month and being a part of this interview big time. Thank you so very much. And thank you to everybody who's watching us. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit the bell icon for more updates. You know what you're supposed to do. Secondly, don't forget we are also on Facebook and Instagram, and all the details to connect with us on those platforms will be given in the description below. Don't worry, you will get it there. It's right down in the description. So don't forget, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, follow, like, share, comment, do whatever is needed to be done. And yeah, so this is us signing off. We are Team Amp.
Thank you. And all the best wishes to Team Amp. Thanks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.